Well, while talks continue, the U.S. is practicing precaution, running drills this week to remove non-military Americans out of the Korean peninsula. So who will flinch first? Let me ask Gordon Chang, columnist at the Daily Beast and author of Nuclear Showdown. Gordon, welcome back.
Thanks, Kennedy.
So you think that war is an extreme form of diplomacy, where others traditionally feel it's sort of the opposite of diplomacy?
Well, they say politics is war by any means, or the other way around. You know, this is, it's just a form on a continuum. And clearly we've got coercive diplomacy right now. It could bleed into actual fighting. I don't think that it will for quite some time. But nonetheless, the United States needs to be very concerned. And actually, we are preparing for war right now because, as you mentioned, we're practicing the evacuation of American citizens. We're also doing something even more extraordinary. And that is, we're looking at a Taiwanese ship because we want to know if it would serve as a good hospital vessel for us. That is just something unprecedented. And that means that the Pentagon really is thinking about going to war and what we'd have to do to protect Americans.
Yeah, and considering, the casualty rate and what kind of ships would be able to offer immediate surgical assistance, and that was the inspection of that ship. So I hear there's a decapitation team, this special forces unit that is running some of the joint drills with the South Korean military. What does that say to you? And is that a literal decapitation team? What does that mean, that phrase?
Well, it means that they're trying to go after the leadership of North Korea, which really means Kim Jong-un. And of course, all militaries practice this. What is different here is that we're actually talking about it in public, because normally that's not done. And really what they're trying to do, of course, is scare and intimidate Kim Jong-un. I'm not so sure that it really does. I mean, it'd be very difficult to get at him unless we were doing it with a missile.
Yeah.
But actually putting people on the ground to try and find him, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it seems, well, who knows? I don't know that anything is out of the realm of possibility. Sure. And, we've, especially after the Osama bin Laden raid, special forces are quite imaginative, and they spend a lot of time strategizing and preparing. So that wouldn't surprise me. What I do think is interesting is a lot of the language that's directed at North Korea is really directed at China. And there are those who say that Secretary of State Tillerson and President Trump's combative rhetoric is actually just good cop, bad cop. My question for you is, which one is better at sending a direct message to China? Which one's more effective?
Yeah, I don't think this is a good cop, bad cop routine on the part of President Trump and Tillerson. I think this is just the president not enforcing message discipline, and Tillerson having very different ideas how this should proceed. When it comes to China, I think the most important thing is that it's the economic pressure that we're applying on them, not the insults, not the threats. Not now, but it will be. I mean, President Trump's September 21 executive order really would cut off all dealings with Chinese businesses and banks that deal with the North Koreans, may even cut off business with China itself. This really is strict. This actually does have the potential of disarming North Korea peacefully by going at China, its main sponsor. But the administration's got to be very clear that it's got to have the political will to actually enforce this. And right now in the Treasury Department, they don't have the sanctions people right there to enforce the rules prior to September 21. These September 21 rules just increase their workload exponentially. They're just not there.
Yeah, and there aren't enough people to cover it.
Certainly not.
All right, so, this is very interesting because we have seen North Korea, when the United States and South Korea have run their joint military operations, that's when we tend to see missile launches.
Provocations.
Yeah. What are you expecting now?
I'm not expecting it now. I mean, I'll put myself out on a limb because I'll probably be wrong. But right now what we're going to be is China's 19th National Communist Party Congress. It starts on Wednesday, goes for about a week. And then after that, they have the first plenum, which is the really big deal. So that's about 7 days, maybe 8 days. And this is the most sensitive time in the Chinese political calendar. And if the North Koreans do something really provocative, it means the Chinese have lost day-to-day control of the North Koreans. But if the North Koreans are quiet through this National Congress and first plenum, it really means that the Chinese are controlling things, because the North Koreans have gotten the message from Beijing, don't do anything belligerent. Yeah. So we're going to wait, and we're going to see a lot about this relationship between Beijing and Pyongyang in the next week.
Yeah, we'll see if North Korea is terrified that China is going to yank the leash yet again.
Yes.
and choke them out. Who's to say? That's a very interesting timeline you've laid out. So we'll watch for the next 8 days and see if we hear a peep out of North Korea.